Hello, my wonderful, beautiful friends, guys. Welcome back to our entitled people, where people truly believe it's all about them and no one else matters. And in today's episode, we're dealing with psycho Karen mother-in-laws. Guys, we've got Karens invading homes, trying to steal wedding rings, crossing boundaries. It's absolutely wild. Your jaws will be on the floor today. I hope you enjoy the stories. Don't shake your heads too hard. And as always, you can send or link your post to this email right here. Let's dive in. So I have a doozy for you. My husband's wonderful grandma gave him her wedding ring to give to me at our wedding. At the wedding, when he was first putting it on my finger, in a room full of wedding guests, we could all hear a very loud, "What the hell is that?" from his mother when she saw what it was. It's a solitary diamond surrounded by small rubies on a gold band. His grandmother had it as her wedding ring, and it's been passed through the family since the mid-1700s. Grandma didn't like her daughter, nor her granddaughter, husband's sister, so she felt it was best for my husband to give it to me. So that said, mother-in-law spent the rest of the wedding and the reception staring at the ring on my finger. I'm sure she was trying to figure out how to get it. Now, I only say that because a couple of weeks later, we were at her place for dinner, and she kept insisting I take it off while helping to clean up, so it wouldn't get damaged. She suggested numerous times for me to take it off and put it somewhere safe, like her jewelry chest upstairs. I just declined and kept it on. A few weeks later, she was over at our house for dinner. When she saw that I wasn't wearing it because I'd just been gardening, she then asked why I wasn't wearing it. I told her, and she suddenly had to use the bathroom, and she specifically went upstairs to use it when there was a bathroom right by the entrance of my house. I was suspicious, so I quietly went to check, only to find her trying to body check our bedroom door open, as I keep it locked when I'm not in there. As soon as she saw me, she said she couldn't find the bathroom, so she was trying to use the master bathroom in my bedroom, to which I pointed at the open door, where you could clearly see the toilet that she would have had to pass to get to our bedroom. And the thing is, she's used that bathroom before, and she's been in my home many times before, so that lie is stupid. Even if she'd forced the door open, my ring was in the safe in there, and only I have the combination. The most ridiculous thing about this is, I don't think she wanted it for herself, but for her daughter, as my sister-in-law is one of the most spoiled, entitled people I've ever met. She always whines about my husband having something, but she doesn't want to put in the work to get it. But my mother-in-law is more than happy to get it for her. Father-in-law's not in the picture, as he died when my husband was around 8 or 9 years old, so getting him to help is not a solution. My husband said that ever since his dad died, his mom has spoiled his sister constantly, while he's had to work hard for everything he has. So yeah, both are entitled, but my mother-in-law is downright crazy and entitled. She's crazily entitled. Yeah, I'd say that's a good way to never get invited over ever again. And now Opie's gotta guard that ring for the rest of her life, because who knows when Karen will strike again, right? It's just awful that Opie has to hide a wedding ring that husband's grandma wanted her to have and no one else. In my opinion, Opie needs to have the ring engraved, appraised, and insured, as that'll ensure on paper that it's OP's property if it were stolen by Karen. And guys, if you think that was a head shaker, this next Karen knows no boundaries. So my soon-to-be mother-in-law recently took the in case of emergency spare key out of my sister-in-law's kitchen drawer in her kitchen. She then came to my house while fiance and I were at work. She let herself in, and she spent about 3 hours snooping through our home. And how do I know this? Well, a year ago, I installed cameras outdoors and indoors after my brother's house was burglarized. And since that incident, I've been very serious about home security. It's a good thing too, because I never would have known by the state of my house. Nothing appeared to have been moved, but the camera footage is HD and it tells no lies. I'm shocked because she was super thorough in her investigation. The woman went through everything. So here's how it went. The lunatic enters into the kitchen, she opens my fridge and checks the expiration dates on all my food containers. The woman smells my milk, smells my leftovers, and then takes a Diet Coke. She then moves on to the living room. There, she proceeds to remove my couch cushions to check for dirt and cleanliness. I'm assuming because she's borderline OCD with her cleaning. She was disappointed to find that I keep my home meticulously clean. She then proceeds to look in every drawer in every side table and picks up my childhood photo album, and she pretty much studies it, and then reads my senior high school yearbook. After that, she moved on to my bathroom. Unfortunately, there was no cameras in there. I don't know what she did in there specifically, but she spent approximately 35 minutes in there. Now, I normally don't keep a camera in my bedroom, but my fiance and I recently decided to place one in the corner, facing the door. Again, security reasons. So I got super anxious for obvious reasons as I watched her walk through that door. First, she went to my walk-in closet, and she spent a good 15 minutes in there, which I couldn't see. She then comes out with a pair of my Uggs, and she puts them by the door. She then goes through my dresser, and she pulls out a sweater and puts it with the Uggs. Then, she pulls my panties out of the drawer, one by one to inspect them. She checks the tags on my bra to see the size, I'm assuming. And then, she literally puts this darker greenish colored bra up next to the matching underwear to see if they were a set. And then she shakes her head. Like, why are you judging my lingerie, you psycho? After that, she moves on to my filing cabinet under the computer desk. She goes through every single file in the cabinet, reading all of it. My medical records, my tax records, pay stubs, college records, court records, from my son's joint custody with his father, and to boot, she even took photos of certain documents, which I can't distinguish from the video. After that is the worst part of it all. She looks under my bed and she pulls out our adult toy box. And y'all, she touched them. She touched all of them and then proceeds to shake her head at every single item she held in her hand. The woman even turned on some toys, and she made a surprised face by how intensely it could go at the highest setting. And she lets out a loud, "Oh dear Lord." The thing is, my mother-in-law is this old-school devout Catholic woman, and in that moment, I'm sure I know what she thought of me. She then spent 20 minutes covering her tracks before leaving. The cherry on top of the whole thing was when she walked out the door with my Uggs and sweater, claiming them as hers. At first, watching it, I was angry, and then I was livid. But when the woman held my toy in her hands, I was just so glad to have caught it all on camera. I still don't know what to do with it. You know what? I don't even know what to think about this, guys. Like, this is next level. Like, what an insane level of invasion of privacy. And what made mother-in-law want to do that and thoroughly go through OP's house, I will never know. And also, taking pictures of personal documents, I'm sure is a crime, right? Like, who knows what she's planning on doing with that information? Taking out loans, committing fraud, laughing at credit card balances, who knows? In my opinion, it might put a strain on the marriage, but OP needs to let her fiance know and they have to do something about this, like go to the police. And this person comments, "You need to show your fiance and report it to the police. The woman stole your spare key, did all of that, and also took pictures of documents and stole your property. Also, if you're feeling petty, next family dinner, tell everyone that you have a special film you want to share, and then play that, especially her touching your toys." And this person says what we're all thinking: call the police, restraining order, she's a psycho thief. Guys, let me know your thoughts. If you're in OP's position, who's potentially risking it all and taking this to the cops to teach this woman a much needed lesson? And guys, if you enjoyed that one and you thought that one was bad, oh my goodness. This next Karen takes a tragedy and she makes it all about herself. So I'm a 25-year-old female, and my fiance, also 25, found out that we were pregnant in early January. We unfortunately miscarried, and we found out the baby had no heartbeat on February 26. For about 2 weeks after that, I was physically going through a miscarriage, which meant bleeding a lot and mentally being distraught. I cried for a week straight. We live in a different state from our family, so we were basically going through this alone. As soon as we found out about losing the baby, my fiance told my parents and then told his mother. His mother was so excited about becoming a grandmother and whatnot. I'm not sure how that phone call went, but presumably it went fine. However, the next day, he was receiving text messages upon text messages from distant family members to family friends sending their condolences and whatnot. Immediately, we knew she had been telling people. I told my fiance that he should at least tell his dad, as his parents are divorced, and his siblings before mom gets to them. Well, once he called them to tell them the news, they all already knew. Everyone knew. This honestly pissed me off, as I don't think it's her place to share this news. And also, she never even texted me, and she never even called to ask how I'm doing or anything. I felt like something so personal that I was experiencing was reduced to basically some sort of fun gossip for her. My fiance then texted her asking, "Why are you telling everybody?" And the woman just ignored that message. She never even tried to call him either. So he decided to ignore her as well. Whatever. Fast forward a few weeks later, and we decide to plan our wedding, since we've been engaged for 3 years. I sent out the save the dates, which she hasn't responded to or asked us about. I felt that this would be the perfect opportunity for her to reach out and, I don't know, be a mother. A couple of days after, she FaceTimes my fiance, but he was working, so he called her back the next day. We thought that she was finally gonna ask about the wedding or maybe say she was sorry, but no. She was calling because she was on vacation and she wanted to show him some stuff. This of course annoyed my fiance, and he said, "Oh, I thought you were going to apologize." And she said, "Apologize? For what?" My fiance then said, "You know what, Mom? You told everyone our personal news when it wasn't your place to." And that's when she said, "I did no such thing. I only told your dad and sister, so don't you come attacking me." Now, that was a complete lie, since distant family on her side were texting us. My fiance just hangs up because he can't take the lies. She then texts him with this to further cement her nasty self. She texts him, "You know what, I'm so sorry that you feel some type of way or some type of victims because I feel the way I feel about losing the excitement in being a grandma. How dare you do this to me? It's unfortunate that you feel the need to punish me for my feelings. All I've ever wanted was to be a grandmother. I'm not a bad person, but clearly you feel otherwise. That's your opinion. Sorry for not being what you expect on a mother." Reading that text message left me fuming. I just thought, ma'am, we kind of are the victims. Does she really think she's the victim? Does she really think that her wanting to be a grandmother is more than my fiance and I wanting to be parents? Whatever she felt, we felt probably 20 times more. At this point, I really hope she doesn't make it to the wedding because she's all drama. It's incredible how some people are. My goodness, it is always the worst when people make things about themselves. And the fact that mother-in-law didn't even check up on OP or her son and was only concerned with spreading the news to other people just proves how uncaring she is. And for her to then play the victim card saying, "But you know how much I wanted to be a grandma, right?" is absolutely wild. And I fully agree with this person when they say Opie needs to have her fiance respond to mother-in-law's text to say, "Since you can't behave like a decent human being and you can't stop lying and making excuses, we've decided it's best if we move forward without you. Please toss the save the date because you will not be welcome at the wedding. You will also no longer have the privilege of being a grandparent to any children we have. We will not expose innocent kids to this kind of behavior." So this happened back in the 90s. My hobby used to be making quilts from vintage cloth. I would buy the cloth, which was usually flour and feed print sacks from the 30s and 40s at flea markets and antique stores. I pieced them by hand and then sewed the squares together on my old sewing machine. And then I would hand quilt the tops using vintage blankets as batting and older cotton thread. This took a lot of time, but the end results were beautiful and heirloom quality. Besides, it was a lot of fun. One year, I made such a quilt for my brother-in-law's birthday, my husband's younger brother. He and his wife freaked out over it and they thanked me profusely. 2 days later, my mother-in-law walks into my house without even knocking. Her reasoning was that it was her son's house, and therefore, it was her house as well, and she has the right to do so. Now, I'd been super busy all day, and I just sat down on the living room floor to play Super Mario Kart with my boys. I was surprised to see her. The woman usually avoided me if my husband wasn't around. Well, she snorted at me when she saw me on the floor, and then she asked if this is what I did all day, and then added it must be so nice to have so much free time and a husband that supports my lazy ass. And I want to note, I've always worked from home. You would be surprised at how many people think that this isn't a real job. Anyways, she then dumps a bunch of fabric swatches out of a bag onto my sofa. Before I could ask her what she was doing, she starts telling me that she wants a quilt like the one I made for brother-in-law, but she needed hers to be bigger and better with these colors. Oh, and she wanted new cloth, not that, quote, old junk that I usually make it out of. She told me she brought these swatches so I would know what to buy for her quilt. At first, I was way too stunned to speak up, especially when she insulted me before even saying hi. And then, I was too angry to trust my mouth. My 2 boys never liked this woman, and they scrambled to their feet and they ran out of the room. I envied them for this because I was stuck facing this cow alone. This woman had always been as awful to me as she could. She had told my boys to their faces that they were not her grandsons because they looked nothing like her son. She's told other grandkids this too, so we weren't singled out. She's also told all of her 5 sons that she would only recognize her daughter's kids as grandkids because she knew those were her grandkids. She only claimed the other grandkids as hers when she wanted to look good around other people. This woman has also tried to fix my husband up with other women for 5 years after we were married. And this woman was so entitled that she thought I should do all of this work for her for free. So I looked through the swatches, asked for dimensions she wanted, as well as the block pattern. I then thought for a few moments and then told her, yeah, I can do all of that for about $5,000. Now, I figured this was a large enough sum to freak her out and make her go away. If not, well, I'll make a quilt for her for that stupid amount, as we could use a vacation. The woman says, $5,000? Are you mental? You just gave one to brother-in-law. That's when I say, yeah, that was a birthday present. She then says, well, this can be my birthday present. And this is when I told her I've never given you a birthday present. The only time I tried to, you handed it back unopened and you told me that you only accepted gifts from family or friends, and that I was neither, remember, and that I would never be considered family or friends. Do you remember saying that to me? So $5,000 up front or no quilt. Frowning and pressing her lips together, she gathers up her stupid swatches and left. I opened the door for her and I held it so she couldn't slam it as she was a slammer. As I watched her drive away, I couldn't help but to think how much fun that had been. So with that said, for the rest of the year, my husband's other 3 brothers got quilts for their birthdays. Also, to add insult to injury, I made them out of new cloth and not that old junk, as well as the colors and patterns my mother-in-law wanted. That crazy woman tried as hard as she could to guilt one of her sons into giving her their quilt. And no, it didn't happen. 1993 was a very fun year for me. I just love how petty OP got on mother-in-law. Like giving everyone custom-made quilts for their birthdays was so savage. And I hope mother-in-law was there when each of the brothers opened the present from OP. And that's what she gets, right? Like for her to say, I only accept presents from family or friends, only to then go on to say that you need to make me a quilt and consider it my birthday present. Guys, what's that saying? The lion, the witch, the audacity of this. Well, I'm sure you can fill in that last word that describes her. Okay, so I have lurked for some time, but I've never posted, as I have an angel for a mother-in-law and a sane human for a mother. However, I have a truckload of stories about other people's moms and mother-in-laws. This incident just happened, and I finally decided to share. Here's a quick bit of background. I live in an apartment complex. It's a 2-story building with outdoor stairwells that are used by 4 apartments on each level. I have a front window that looks across a short stretch of grass to the parking lot. My upstairs neighbors are generally calm, unobtrusive people, and we have a sort of nodding acquaintance with each other. There's a husband, a wife, and 2 boys. One's 15, the other's 9. So with that said, I'm sitting on the couch reading when suddenly I hear a commotion outside. It's a bunch of shouting, feet running up and down the stairwell, general hysteria. I look out the window and it's my upstairs neighbors who are apparently losing their minds as a family unit. The husband's literally running in circles, clutching his head yelling, "Oh my god, is it Dad? It's Dad, right? What's wrong with Dad? Oh my god, Dad. Wait. Is it Jessica? What happened to my sister?" The guy's naming off family members of his entire family tree and bewailing their as yet unknown conditions. The wife is standing on the grass, swaying back and forth and flailing her arms like a wacky inflatable arm flailing tube man. The woman's alternating between making this yodeling noise and yelling to the kids, "Hurry, hurry, get the fire extinguisher, get the go bag, grab everything, go, go, go." The older boy is dashing in and out of their apartment and up and down the stairs at full speed. The kid shouting garbled lines like, "To the last I grapple with thee, from hell's heart I stab at thee," and "Out, out of the carpet, damn spot." And that's picking 2 examples. The younger boy is doing laps around the wife, trying to howl like a siren, but breaking up into completely justifiable giggles. I then start hearing these huge whiny sobs, and at this point, I decide to step outside and get a better view of what the actual heck is going on. I look at the wife and raise my eyebrows, and she winks at me in between screams. That's when I move out of the stairwell, just enough to look up and see what's happening in front of their apartment. The husband's mom's up on the landing and the woman's staring in shock. She begins sobbing, saying, "Why are you doing this? What's wrong with you all? What's going on?" And just like that, the husband stops running. The wife stops flailing and the kids stop sprinting. All 4 of them gather at the foot of the stairs, staring up at husband's mom. That's when husband says, "Mom, we've told you 10 times if we've told you once. We gave you that key to use only in emergencies. We've also told you 10 times if we've told you once to call or text us before you come over. Since you just unlocked our door and walked in unannounced using your emergency key, there must, therefore, be an emergency." The husband then starts screaming again, and off go the kids, now running around the parking lot. Off goes the wife, running with them, screaming her heads off, and off go my ribs because I absolutely can't hold back the laughter anymore. The mother burst into tears and she says, "I just wanted to come by and see my grandbabies. I wanted to drop off some presents. Is that so wrong?" Husband tells her, "And we've told you, you need to call first. Stop letting yourself in." She then says, "But you weren't answering your phones. What am I supposed to do?" Husband tells her, "You should have taken that hint that we don't want to talk to you tonight. We were going to stop by next weekend like we arranged, but now we're going to cancel those plans because you broke the very simple rules that we requested you follow. So go home, Mom." That's when mother says, "Your father won't let you do this. Your father's gonna hear about this. I'm calling him right now. How dare you treat me like this? I'm your mother." The husband then says, "You think Dad's gonna side with you?" He then takes out his cell phone out of his shirt pocket and holds it up to show a connected call. He then thumbs it to speakerphone and he says, "Hey Dad, are you hearing all of this?" The father then says, "Cindy, you need to come home right now. I told you not to go there." Cue renewed outbursts of sobs and backpedaling from mother. Father has a voice like James Earl Jones with a head cold. He's not yelling hysterically, but he's speaking in a calm, level voice that drops words out of the speaker like lead bricks. The guy's not letting her get a breath in edgewise. He's repeating, "Get home now, we're going to talk." That's when Mother looks around and she realizes that I'm not the only person who's staring. Other neighbors have popped out to see what the hell's happening. The wife and kids have stopped running and they're sprawled on the grass, just laughing. Mother then draws herself up and she reaches towards the apartment door, presumably to get her key. Husband then says, "You leave that key where it is." She sputters, "But," to which he says, "Leave it." The mother recoils, like the doorknob just turned into a rattlesnake, and she comes stumbling down the stairs. The sobbing is drying up, and she's now looking mortified and pissed off. She stomps past her son, stomps past her daughter-in-law and grandkids, and stomps past the other neighbors who are rubbernecking. And she shouts, "None of you love me." She then gets in her car and goes away. And I go back into my apartment and head for my computer. That is so freaking brilliant how that family handled mother-in-law's intrusiveness. And seriously, you gotta love the good old "none of you love me" that she threw in there before leaving. No, Mom, we still love you. We just don't want you walking into our home whenever you want. That said though, what wonderful teamwork and coordination. I am super impressed, and that was freaking hilarious. I love how the parents got the kids involved. And you know for a fact that those kids will know how to enforce healthy boundaries when they grow up. And guys, before we go, OP wants to know if they're the a-hole in this next post. So my husband and I got married 9 months ago. We live in a different town from his parents, and his mom visited us unexpectedly on Friday. Now, to give some context about my mother-in-law, she's okay-ish, but she has no respect for her son's privacy and, by extension, mine. When it was time to go to bed, mother-in-law requested that we let her sleep in our bedroom, on the master bed. Not just that, but we locked the door as well, because she explained she can't feel comfortable enough to sleep without locking the door. Of course, I found this bizarre and I politely declined, and I suggested other options like the guest room, the couch, the air mattress. But no, she turned around and she presented these options to me. My husband agreed, but I said no. This of course initiates an argument between her and I. During the argument, I pointed out that I don't want to be kept out of my room away from my stuff. But she lashed out at my husband saying, "Don't you just stand there, say something to her." My husband told me to let her, it's just one night. But I told her these were all the options I had for her, and if she didn't like it, I could book her a hotel. She took it as I was kicking her out, and she starts crying, which made my husband upset. She left at midnight, and my husband blew up, saying I disrespected his mom, who was a guest at our house. He then reminded me that it's our bedroom, not just mine, and I acted horribly to her, causing her to go stay at a hotel in the middle of the night. The next day, she went home, and she told the family, who then berated me, calling my behavior towards mother-in-law disgusting. Now my husband's complaining about how I keep trying to ruin his relationship with his family and push them away. But I want to know if I really was the a-hole in this situation. Guys, I'm gonna leave this right here, but I'm just gonna say that in my opinion, there is no way OP's the a-hole in this situation. And OP's husband should have sided with her. Like, go make your mom sleep in the guest bedroom, dude, because it's for freaking guests. Like, the bed's the same, the door locks too, so why the heck do you want to use my bedroom, Mom? Like, those would have been my words. But yeah, let me know your thoughts, guys. And that, my friends, brings us to another end of r/entitled people. Ridiculous mother-in-law stories today, right? Guys, if you enjoyed the episode, hit that thumbs up, and if you're not subscribed, consider subscribing so you don't miss these crazy stories. And if you missed yesterday's episode on the channel, it's an r/entitled people episode, where Karens are letting their kids set homes on fire, and they're getting mad at others. Go check it out if you haven't. And myself and Stevie Boy will see you guys in the next one. We love you.